Welcome back to the Party with Strategy podcast, Patreon episodes. Stratpack's in the building. Let's go, champ. Thank you guys for your support. We are, in fact, still waiting for somebody to sign up on the free diamond cut level. We have yet to have someone pledge the $1,000 monthly subscription, and I forgot what we wrote on there, but I'm pretty sure it says that we become your slaves for the month. I think you can buy 2 humans for $1,000, which I can't speak from experience on the human purchasing market, the human trafficking market, but I believe that that's a steal, if I had to guess.
Well, a steal would be doing it for free. That would be a steal.
Well, a steal, in these terms.
I also thought you were going to say a Mexican and a Jew, not 2 people.
Well, yeah. Well, a Mexican and a Jew, that's $1,000. Not bad. Not too shabby.
No,
you get to order us to create any piece of content that you'd like. And we completely forgot about that, which is nice. It'll be there. It'll get the bell will get dinged one day, rang. I don't know. I just had buffalo chicken cheese fries. My brain's not working.
Neither is mine.
It's fucking melting. But there is one thing I do know. DJ group chats are not allowed to turn political. I don't care how many Waymos you light on fire. DJ group chats, you can't go from talking about Kendrick Lamar records, doing 2C, and wanting to fucking off yourself because of bombing the night before, to a serious political conversation on immigration. It just doesn't work that way. You gotta pick your side. You don't get to do both. It's insane for a... Oh, there goes my cat. It's insane for such a silly space to then turn serious. It doesn't work like that. I don't think that we should be allowed to discuss cocaine usage and immigration policies in the same group chat.
You should go back in time and tell that to David Guetta.
What's he doing? Is he throwing people across the border?
No. During the George Floyd protests and everything, he was throwing, I think, a DJ set on some rooftop, I think, in Miami. Or at least I think it was Miami. And you know how he obviously loves to talk in the middle of like the breaks or everything like that?
Mm-hmm.
He was just pretty much talking about like ending racism and all this other shit by playing a song. And in my Instagram feed, that clip came up of saying like that one time that David Guetta ended racism. And it was just like, dude, the way he was like going about it, talking, it already looked funny, but the fact that it turned political in such a time, it just didn't it didn't fit the part. Like it was way out of place.
Yeah, I feel you. People should not be able to have their opinions so readily projected onto others. You shouldn't be able to do that. It's ruining everything. It's actually insane.
Social media.
But do you have a solid understanding of what's going on right now? What the policy that was enacted that set this whole thing off?
Well, it's just essentially just immigration raids and businesses that obviously happen in ways that are very questionable. Obviously, there's rule and measure to what they do, but the way they're kind of going about it is obviously not sitting well with a lot of people. Yeah. Obviously, going down to like the mistakes that have happened, and obviously things leading up to it were like the whole, Jewish and Palestinian thing going around, where some of these students and people were just getting like abducted out of nowhere by ICE, or what's the other one?
Wait.
HIS.
ICE was abducting Jews and Palestinians from college?
Mainly Palestinians. There was one predominantly where it was like not a student, but she was here on a student visa, but she was also an editor on a paper where it obviously expressed Palestinian views against what's going on right now, obviously in the Middle East. And they came in unmarked cars, and they essentially just kind of came out in broad daylight and essentially kind of kidnapped her. But they really didn't explain why, because there was no charges brought up against her. But it obviously is turning political because if
And what did they say their reasoning was?
that she was supposedly like promoting Hamas ideology without no real proof, because the paper that she wrote was essentially just expressing a viewpoint of what's going on, and obviously the outcomes that it has affected families out in Palestine and all this shit.
Do the Jews control ICE?
Well, no, because
Is that what's going on here?
Well, no, wouldn't say it's that in itself, but it's just like I think the way these things are being carried out, that the optics of it makes it look a whole lot fucking worse. Because when you roll up to a place and you have like army level equipment, fucking AK-47s.
Yeah,
You're heightening the situation instead of you just coming in as regular uniformed ICE agents.
okay, that's what's going on. They're going hard on these raids.
Well, yeah, I mean they got like these big fucking trucks that are like driving around like the LA streets, and it's just like it looks fucking insane.
So that caused people to freak out and riot.
That, along with the fact that they're essentially grabbing people that are in their jobs working. You know how he went about saying like these people are coming in reaping from the public benefits, essentially getting free money and all this other crazy shit. They're essentially taking out like the hardworking people that are at their jobs, making money or trying to make money, and just randomly coming in, busting out the place and just deporting them. There's a whole political aspect of it that I don't know if you want to get into that.
So, well, I just want to know, I feel like, first of all, I've done no research on anything that's happening, so I don't have any knowledge of it. The only thing that I've seen is the insanity that is ensuing in LA.
Well, there's the people that are immediately affected with it, which obviously rightfully so, that you're essentially fucking up a lot of these people's lives. But then there's the outside aspect.
But are these people that are being detained and deported actually illegal immigrants?
Illegal immigrants? Well, that's the thing. Some of them could be, for sure. But within being in a place like this, whether you're legal or illegal, you're still being taken. It's not like they're really asking you like, hey, show me your papers. They're essentially
Don't they know who they're going after, though?
Well, that's the thing. They could be going in for one person, but then they'll grab other people with the assumption that they are.
Are you saying that all brown people look alike? Because that would be racist, and we don't put up with things like that on this podcast.
Not racist, but you're essentially you're looking the part, essentially. Being brown is already a dead giveaway. Just as, like, again, without making it racist, when you see a black person, regardless of whether they look alike or not,
they're still
going to be very weary of you.
Oh, sorry.
No, not that.
Serious question, though. Truthfully, as a Mexican man in these times, a legal citizen of this country, is there any fear for you that you would be mistakenly swooped up into an ICE raid?
There's already happened. I mean, essentially, that's the fear of it, is that you don't know if you're going to be... It's like the common thing of, like, act first, ask questions later, which is that. Yeah,
so do you think that, like, someone gets accidentally scooped up and then they take them to wherever the fuck they take them, and then they run their name or whatever it might be, and then they realize, oh shit, we fucked up, this guy's a citizen, and then what, they release him?
No one really knows. We're in uncharted territories at the moment.
Well, how so? Hasn't ICE been deporting illegal immigrants for a long time?
The thing is, like, when you deport someone that's illegal, sure, you're deporting someone who is here illegally, but it gets into murky waters when you're also taking their kids with you that are U.S. citizens, and you're deporting them.
Is that what's happening?
In some cases, it is. Which they obviously, again, they being the ICE, I guess, department of whatever city that's happening, that they're saying, oh no, she willfully took those kids with her, which there is obviously an option to do that, but you're also talking about like there's no real proof.
Yeah,
Because you're not really having your day in court anymore, which that used to be the case. Now it's not.
You don't get a court case.
In most of these cases, it's very, very rare that you actually have your date in court to be able to say, no, you can't deport me because of X reason, or pretty much essentially fight it. Bless you. Bless you.
Thank you.
That's why I'm saying it's uncharted territories, because every case is essentially different.
So
It's difficult because, again, you can't come to a conclusion of like what exactly is going on. That's part of the reason why these riots, I think, are kind of happening, is because no one really knows what's going on, at least at face value, because there's always going to be bad actors in every riot. So for those who are trying to fight the good cause, you don't really hear about much of this shit. You know, you're just hearing like the fucking looting and the starting of, you know, fires and flipping cars over and all that crazy shit. It really is wild.
Yeah, it definitely got a little out of hand, and when these things happen, it drums up fear everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is happening in LA, but the same shit happened with the BLM riots, happened in Minnesota, happened in LA, happened in Chicago, happened all over this country. Like, once people start popping off in one place, it sort of rumbles up the crowd to get together and do it in another place.
Which I think is still the worst thing, because like you said, there have been deportations happening for years already. I mean, this isn't the first or last time that's probably going to happen.
Right.
Because if ICE exists, ICE is going to do what they got to do.
Right.
But the fact of the matter that, you know, there is a cause to cause a protest for. You know, you're free to protest whatever cause you think you should fight, whether right or wrong, you know, just kind of protect under the First Amendment. But the thing is, like, the influence sometimes that goes above and beyond is more dangerous, because then, again, other people see it that, oh, it could happen here. So if it happens, we obviously have to riot just as bad as LA did, or whatever other city that's next. And
Right.
I think that causes more chaos than it helps, because it's civil unrest. You know, you're essentially having these people really seizing the moment and doing bad shit. This only going to tarnish the cause that you're trying
Exactly.
to kind of like fight for.
You're really creating a larger divide in the citizens of this country.
Which is funny too, because like now I don't know. I mean, I don't know what fucking happens. I've never been in those types of situations, obviously, but like you obviously always have racial divide, because if it's not, you know, the Mexicans with whatever, it essentially creates another like pocket fight within another minority.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have like the Hispanics being like, oh, you know, we're the African Americans, like, you know, we were there for you with, you know, the whole BLM thing, you know, you guys should help us out as well too. But obviously everyone tries to kind of obviously pick and choose their fights. I mean, getting into every fucking fight doesn't always help.
Yeah.
But now you're starting to see that shit as well too, especially with LA being so fucking diverse.
And there's also like the whole Venezuelan immigration thing where people,
that's a whole different.
well, yeah, people
thing
were just
too.
coming into this country obviously illegally, and there was a lot of them, and then they were coming here and getting like money and gifts and housing, and like it was like dreamland. It was like the most incredible situation for them. And now obviously the parties have changed and they're handling it differently, but people were very upset, even minorities, seeing these illegal immigrants get taken care of so well when citizens of this country are living in such poverty and shit, and they're not getting taken care of as well as those people. So that was a little bit of an upsetting thing. But now you have the complete opposite, and that's something that's upsetting people. it just feels like everything else that always happens, where it's either fully this way or fully this way. There's nothing in the middle, which is actually where everybody in this entire country wants to be, I think.
Which personally, and this is my personal viewpoint, I think it always goes down to essentially policy. You have to enact some things to help those in need, obviously, but I think the negligence of like having a fast resolution creates a long-lasting problem. And by that I mean, like, okay, obviously there's people here that are suffering, so you obviously have to look into programs to be able to help them, but you can't because then they're mooching off of the system. So there's that. The whole immigration thing is, the immigration policies are essentially broken. They haven't been, changed in I don't know how many decades. So the immigration policy in itself is broken, and if you help it, you're essentially opening a new gate for more people to come here. So there's that problem. And then when you have things like with the Venezuelan and other, I guess, countries that have been affected by whatever causes, when you come in here, the optics are obviously pretty bad when you're trying to do something good by helping them while they're here on a visa and giving them money. Then essentially crumbles like from the top to the bottom. Like there's citizens that don't have the ability to have that. There's immigrants here that essentially have never been able to get their cases heard or even seen because the immigration's backlogged for years. So to have, I think, that of like, oh, well, okay, well, we'll help them because this is the here and now, obviously upsets, from the top to the bottom, a lot of fucking people, which I think is the issue, that, the caravans were coming in with, hundreds of thousands of people, and somehow they managed to like get over, and then like that gets mixed in with the immigrants that are essentially here trying to get, advanced in, possibly becoming a resident or a citizen. It just essentially was like a whole domino effect of, COVID with that shit happening, then them getting money and all this other crazy shit.
Here's my most main issue. And this may sound a bit insensitive.
What doesn't now?
And that's not something I've ever really cared about. But I don't care either way if people are being deported or not. I just want the price of the food I'm paying for to go down. That's all I give a shit about.
See, that's the sad thing about it, is that it's all essentially interconnected in a way or shape.
I mean, I guess you could always link everything together, but if there's a ton of illegal immigrants here working, the prices should be down. They should be getting paid less than minimum wage because you don't have to meet the standard for them. And they should be at the diner cooking me scrambled eggs for a fair price. I shouldn't have to go out to eat with my fiance to a diner and get 2 omelets, 2 cups of coffee, and pay $50 for it.
But that's the thing. Like when I say it's all interconnected, it's like, okay, you do have cheap labor, 100%. If there's anything that a lot of immigrants are being exploited for, is the fact that they can and only get a below minimum wage, right?
Right.
But the thing is, like, that only self-serves the people in charge. The people in charge at the end of the day essentially dictate the prices on there. So let's say you're a chicken farmer, right? You have this place on there, you have all these people that you're paying below minimum wage, you're essentially profiting more.
Yeah, you're just profiting more. You're charging the same market rate for whatever the fucking omelet costs.
Yeah.
But your overhead of paying for employees is lower, so you're making more money.
Yeah. But then,
so what you're saying is that I need to get some illegal immigrants to work a couple of my shifts for me for a quarter of the price, and I will then benefit by making more money.
I mean, let's be honest, how many Venezuelans ended up getting these types of jobs, and people were like, well, I'll pay you X amount of money, you're looking for money, you trying to get like ahead in here, like, here you go, this is the much pay that I can get, so obviously I'm going to take advantage of this and hire you, pay you below minimum wage, and profit off of some way.
It's just all bullshit. It has nothing matters anymore. It doesn't matter whether Trump is in there, whether Biden's in there, whether
no.
whoever's coming next, whether this, whether that. It's all the same broken system. It's just what side is it more broken on at the current moment?
Well, that's what I mean. The system has been broken.
The whole thing is fucked up. The entire shit is corrupted and not working for the people whatsoever. And it's just a theatrical show of what move can I make to make it look like I'm doing something. And this current move is ICE raids and mass deportations,
which again, like he said he was going to do it. He said it from the first presidency that this was essentially a goal of his. So it's not that it's a shocker that, he's following through on what he said, which I'm not saying it's okay, obviously, because again, he warned that this shit was going to happen.
So what's the problem?
The problem is the way that people like are in these communities, that it's actually happening and it's happening fast. So you're aware that that's going to happen. You don't know when, where, or how it's going to take place, but you're obviously not going to sit idly by when this shit goes down. You can only just obviously, protest these things to hopefully not break up families, have kids without parents. I mean, it's a very big interwoven thing that, it's pretty fucked if you really think about it.
Yeah. What, to
be honest with you, dude, my main problem on there is just like the fucking theatrics of it that's happening. Because once this whole Musk and Donald Trump shit happened, and dude, I was like, holy shit, man, this really is something that I did not expect to happen. Being beefed out on Twitter, live news, and all this shit. Yeah. I was like, come on.
I mean,
it's more chaos to everything that's going on.
It's more chaos, but also like, is it shocking in any way? Like, no.
It's shocking in the sense that it happened fast. Like, I saw this shit happening years later, not a couple months later.
It did happen fast, but also like the appeal of Trump, I feel like, is that he's not a career politician that you just know is lying to your face and being slimy behind closed doors. Like, his whole appeal, I think, was that he's like more of a normal, regular guy. Average Joe is who he's appealing to, and like it's just so perfectly falling in line with that whole thing. Like, if he's just your average Joe Schmo who's beefing on Twitter with people, what would ever stop him from doing that if he becomes president? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's what he was doing before. It's what he's going to keep doing. It's completely on par.
You can't change the
who's shocked
fucking stripes. So obviously, like,
that's what I'm saying.
This wasn't really. That's why I think it's kind of funny at the same time, because sometimes, like, in the world of politics, you can't be politically correct, but also at the same time raw. Like, you can't.
It's the whole thing is it's just a big. It's a big play.
Dude, it is.
It's a big play. Man. We're watching a large 4-year ever, and even longer than a term. It's just an ever-going, everlasting play, and it doesn't fucking matter what we do, what we want. They're doing what they want, and we just have to bob and weave with whatever the fuck comes at us.
Bro, it's only been a couple months. It hasn't even been a year. That's the insane part of it.
Yeah, but it's like the same. It doesn't. But like, what? There's no difference between this and the Venezuelan shit. Like, what? Doing, you can paint it as like, no, we're being very nice to these people that are coming to this country, and we're giving them all these things, and we're taking care of them, and that's generosity, and that's us being nice, and we're good people because we're doing this. But also, how many people are you hurting by just shitting on them and letting them live in the streets and have babies and growing up without fathers, and like all these fucking insane things that happens in all these poor neighborhoods all around this whole entire country that you're just completely turning a blind eye to and saying, fuck you, it's not gonna look great for us to give you guys anything. That doesn't do anything. We don't get social credit for that. But these guys coming in that everyone's looking at and it's a big deal, if we're nice to them, we get everything. It looks good. It's just the same bullshit play as like going over here and fucking these families up and deporting people and this and that and being evil, and like it's all fucking evil, just in a different way. Some of it's masked as generosity. Some of it's not masked at all, but it's all fucking evil coming down from the top.
Well, that's the thing with, I think, a lot of like American politics compared to, I guess, other worlds, which, keep in mind, they all have their problems. There's no one political or government entity in the world that's perfect. I mean, this is like fucking what? Like Finland or Norway, like those places, they still have their problems, although probably more minor, because obviously much smaller nation than the United States. But that's essentially the problem with a lot of like the left and the right. You know, you have these alternating political parties that, like you said, one goes too far onto this side, the other goes too far onto that side.
They're all just trying to win little battles against each other, and we are all suffering in the overall war of citizen versus government. Because the citizens just absolutely losing the war, and there's no way we can win watching these guys just fight these battles out. Who's better, while we are all just being shitted on in the making of this whole thing.
Well, yeah, because there's always gonna be a loser. I think that's like, that
and we're the fucking losers.
Yeah, there's always gonna be a loser to this battle, because you either appease to one side or you appease to the other side. No longer is it, I don't think it's ever really been, but no longer is it like we meet in the middle type of government. You know, like, let's come together, let's sacrifice this, but we'll gain that. We'll change this and then, you know, change that back, or whatever instance it can have. But I think within like that whole, like, you know, 2 years to elect your senator and governor, and then like 4 years for the president, or if they even get another 8 years as well too. Yeah, it's just like, I think it's a system that's a little too flawed now.
It's all fucked up. It sucks to even be sitting here talking about this and feeding into it, but like, also, what else can you do? Like,
like you said, and going back to how you started, I think in most instances, not running away from it, but like isolating it would probably be a little bit better, because I think we're having political conversations across all spectrums where it's just like, dude, we're talking about politics in areas that like have nothing to do
on
with
this
politics.
Fucking podcast that is, nobody should be talking about it. But also, like, you know, this is the Patreon, and I feel like I like to keep it a little bit more real.
The political podcast.
Yeah, I mean, not political, but like it is definitely something that is hard for me to just shake off. And anybody, I would imagine, like, even though I'm not directly affected in a way of, I think that ICE is coming for me or anyone that I
it's not even know, just but political policies as well too. Like, I think how you mentioned earlier, where like they're asking you for like the loan, your student loan, to like pay that, and I think there was like rumors about like supposedly they're.
Well, that's the best case scenario. I mean, we just completely go into a civil war, and then I don't have to pay my student loans at all. Let's just get there. I mean, anytime something like this happens, people are lighting Waymos on fire and jumping on top of cars with their boyfriends to take pictures with their flag. The best case scenario is that we just go on to full destruction, and I don't have to worry about paying my student loans or my credit card debt. I can just,
the nation is that
I can just
into the fight.
Dip into my savings and
bless you.
Thank you. Buy whatever I want
for the free.
Just fucking get on Uber Eats and make it rain and eat myself into a suicidal coma. That's the best case scenario. Those are the things you start thinking about. You're like, well, what? Okay, well, this is happening again. How many times does this fucking insane shit have to happen until it really, like, the fire really fucking catches and the whole country is up in smoke? You know what I'm saying?
You say this, but that is essentially, I think, the same mentality they had during the election, where a lot of like these far
Yeah,
left
it's
leaning
the
people
only
were like,
mentality that comes up, and that's why I'm saying it's only a matter of time before it really actually fucking happens, and we're actually like, oh my god, it's coming to an end. We're crashing out. This is all part of one large crash out that I don't think any fucking elected official can help. We as the fucking people need to stop getting on the internet and hating each other. I mean, like, I could feel myself. I made a joke to my friends yesterday, and I hope you find this funny, but I was like, what the fuck? Like, I have to start hating Mexican people now? Like, what? Why? You know, like, that's what my news feed is feeding me. It's like, oh,
Well-
look at these Mexicans. They're blowing countries up. They're here when they're not supposed to be. Like, it's just feeding me this shit.
well, keep in mind that that's been happening long before. The only difference now is obviously technology is way more prevalent than it's ever been now, because you obviously have your phone in your pocket. News notification comes up and you're like, oh, the riots in LA, like people are losing their shit,
Yeah,
this, that, and you're
that's-
kind of like, oh, wait a minute, what the fuck is going on? So now it's kind of like feeding this, like,
Yeah,
Not
it's
doubt-
feeding our hate. No, it's
Yeah.
it's fueling our hate for one another. When in reality, if I didn't have my phone at all for the past 30 hours, I would have woke up this morning, picked you up from the train station. We would have got coffee together and just like lived life as the friends that we are, being a Mexican guy and a Jew. And no influence whatsoever from the outside world could affect that, because we're living in the reality of, you're a great person
yeah.
and I like you. And it doesn't matter what the fuck's going on anywhere else, because that's what I know and that's what's real.
Yeah, because I think I mean, and again, not to go much on a tangent of like technology obviously affecting on there, but it just always reminds me of like how like during Trump's first election, there was a lot of like Russian like AI shit going on, where like posts were coming up
The
of
bots.
things, yeah, where like things were happening that weren't really happening, that
Mm-hmm.
they were either old footage or like recycled shit, and then just rebranding it. And then, you know, grandma and grandpa on fucking Facebook are feeding through that, and they're like, oh, did you see what's happening over there in Chicago? Like, it's you know, the wild, wild west. Everyone's just shooting everyone another. And you're just kind of like,
Well, that is kind of happening.
Like, yeah, that is happening. But what you're watching is not, you know, in relation to that. There is a problem. You're just being fed a bigger problem to make it look a whole lot worse.
Yeah, it's the same play over and over. It's the same thing over and over and over and over again. Rev this thing up, rev this thing up, rev this thing up. Get the people going at each other. This is what sells. This is what gets the views. We have everyone's data. We have everyone's information. We know how to trigger them.
Yeah.
Feed them what's going to trigger them. Feed them the shit that's going to get them going. Feed them the shit that we know they want to see. Like, it's just fucking mayhem.
Well, I mean, not to get like all conspiracy theory and all that shit, but you've heard of like the dead internet theory, right?
What is it?
So it essentially is, there's so much junk on the internet that is programmed to essentially engage with other things, right? And now with AI playing, and again, I don't know if I'm getting this 100% correct. This is like a fucking like Sparks Notes, fucking brief like recap of what it is, but like it's essentially just AI replying to other AI. So it's a lot of shit just interacting with things that aren't really human. It's just other things feeding off of one and another and another and another. And there's so much junk in there that it's essentially just bots talking to other bots.
Yeah, and then we're seeing that, thinking that it's real people.
Yeah.
And it's affecting us, and this is how we take over. We are going to get to a point where we're so lost as human beings, and the computers are going to get to a point where they're so fucking smart that they are going to be able to just, they're going to say, hey, we got a solution for you. We see things are.
Hey, we heard
things
you were
are
talking
good."
about Mexicans. Here's
Yeah.
more articles of things that are happening in America having to do with Mexicans.
Yeah, it's just it's a whole fucking mess. But I hate that I even have to talk about this shit, because I don't know anything about it and I don't give a fuck. I don't. But all I can speak on is like what I feel on the inside and like what I can see is happening, you know, and it's all fucking bullshit.
So here's a question for you, and I think this is like one that I always kind of think whenever I go on Instagram, or I mean, I deactivated my Facebook a while ago already, but whenever you see some of these people, and this isn't just political, it's just overall the way social media has become the platform where you have a voice. do you think everyone should have a voice on the internet?
No, I don't. I think you should have to somehow earn it. I
Yeah.
think it should be like Twitch, where you have to have a certain amount of people coming to watch you before you get some sort of badge or what's the system? You get a partnership
Yeah,
or
it's
whatever
affiliate
the fuck.
and then it's partnered. Yeah.
Some way to then move on to the next level to get money or be seen by more people or whatever the fuck it is. You have to earn it in some way. And I think that should be it.
So
Go get on Twitter and type things into the abyss until people start actually wanting to consume it. And once that happens, then you can move on to the next level where you reach people that maybe have a little more influence or are already in that pool or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know.
all right, so then here's the actual tantalizing part to the question. So do you think we should be monitored to an extent on what is being said?
Monitored or
It's the same thing with like the
like-
Twitch thing, like how you said, like someone that works at Twitch essentially has to validate that you're good, that you meet the criteria to be able to move to the affiliated program.
Sure, monitored I don't mind. I mean, monitoring of you can't stop someone from monitoring you,
But you could
but
definitely
being censored,
yeah.
being saying, hey, wait a second, you can't say that. That I don't think is should happen. Monitored, sure. If you're on Twitter screaming about how you hate black people and they should all be killed, like it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be pretty quick that you're not going to gain a lot of traction.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're not going to go anywhere with that. They don't have to be like, hey, you can't say that, because the proof in the fact that people don't want that is going to be in the proof that you're not gaining traction.
Well, yeah,
or maybe you do. Maybe there's a substantial amount of people sitting in their mom's basements who feel the same way. And you can gain traction with that group, and you know, now they're out in the open. Now anyone can look at them and be like, yeah, we don't really fuck with those people. And they've all gotten together to show us who they are. And now we know they're out in the open. Hey, these guys are kind of crazy. Let's not be affiliated with them or invite them to our parties or whatever the fuck it is, you know?
Yeah. That essentially, in my opinion, is what's happening right now. So it's essentially a lot of these people that are kind of like, when you scream things, it could just fall short and no one can pay attention to you. But when you get into an echo chamber where most of these people have the same ideology, then you get this. And keep in mind, I'm not saying just specifically the bad, because there's obviously good as well too. You know, when you voice good intentions, other people also follow as well too, and they get on par with the message that you're trying to convey. So both good and bad. I'm not saying, oh, it's all the shitty people that are doing all this shit. It's both sides. But I think that essentially is what we're getting in the presence of right now. We're like, shit is kind of being monitored. It is also kind of being censored, but we're essentially in a test of how that really holds up with, like, you know, the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, but at the same time too also creating havoc by getting into problems with, you know, certain situations. So I think that's currently the state that we're living in, versus, like you said, like a couple years ago, like, you didn't know what the fuck, you know, John from 3 blocks down the street was fucking thinking of or doing, because you never had that contact. You never saw it on Facebook of him posting shit. So I think life was just a little bit better, although delusional, because obviously what you don't see doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But I think life for a lot more people was probably a lot more convenient, not having to fucking hear about all this crazy shit in a matter of like a couple minutes. You know, like something happened, then something else happened.
And I mean, if you're savvy enough, you can escape it. You can avoid it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that I think like, yo, I'm aware of what happened. I think if people kind of live by this ideology, it might be a little bit better. I acknowledge that this is happening. I can help where I can. I can't change everything, but at the same time too, I've got my own shit going on.
I think if every single person focused on their own shit and how to personally excel in their own life and grow and become a better person for them and their direct family or circle, we would all it would just be a complete shift and everybody would grow together in the best way possible.
It may not be perfect, but I don't think there'd be as many problems as there are.
There's
now.
no such thing as perfect. So
Yeah.
absolutely it would never be perfect. But it's the yelling at each other because you believe one thing and he believes another thing, and you're right, but you're wrong, but you're right on this and I'm right on this, and like you're constantly fighting and trying. It's like, who gives a fuck who's right? Maybe you're right for you, maybe I'm right for me.
Well, the thing is, like, I don't even think they're trying to really like hash it out. I think it's just a yelling contest instead of an actual like.
Well, no, people want to be
Dialogue.
right. Like, I felt a little bit bad after the Maximo podcast. I felt like I yelled at him and we were miscommunicating, and like,
Yeah, but you don't.
I was trying to prove a point, he was trying to prove his point, and like he didn't see what I was saying, I don't see what he's saying, and like we were not really able to communicate. And that's fine. Sometimes people have trouble communicating. That's just what it is.
I think that's half of the world's problem to begin with.
But I felt bad about maybe being overly aggressive about it, and I had texted him and I said, you know, or actually he was texting me like, this guy watched the podcast and he said you're wrong, I'm right, this and that. I'm like, and I was like, that's actually great, because that's a good dude who you're talking about, and he's got connections, and like if he's in your corner, then fuck yeah, like that's great. I think that that's great. You have people in your corner that are supporting you and they are able to add value to you and your brand and what you're trying to do. I'm not mad at that at all. Like that actually makes me happy. And he goes, but I'm telling you, I was right. And I was like, it's not, you can be right if you want. I don't care about being right. I just like actually want you to succeed more. That's my point. My point is not about being right. I don't give a fuck. And I know that there's never ever one situation in the whole world where you can just be right. Every single situation has so many nuances in things. Like there's no such thing as just the one right way in any situation ever. Nobody would get anything done.
Yeah,
everybody does things their own way, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Sometimes what worked for him wouldn't work for him. Sometimes what worked for him will work for him. Like there's no such thing as just straight up black and white who's right. And that is when I realized, like, oh, like no wonder we couldn't communicate well. Like we have two different mindsets.
Well, I think that's like the one thing. I mean, my dad gave me this piece of advice, which although true, I don't always implement it, but it is savvy words to live by. Those who listen tend to learn more than those trying to shout back. And translates obviously from Spanish to English, but it essentially just kind of like means off of like, you could be wrong, but I'm still going to hear you out. I think when you have that type of level of mentality, when you hear that other person, there's more a level of understanding between, okay, he obviously heard me out. He might have taken it into consideration. Maybe he was just hearing me and obviously still has his own thoughts. But the fact of the matter that you at least give that person the audience to be like, all right, what do you have to say? Speak it. All right, cool. You know what? You could be right, but here's my counter to that. Or like, hey, you know, you have this, that, or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you have two people like, oh, I have this person that's on my court, you know, he said I was right. And you say, okay, cool. You have people on your side that obviously agree with you. But for them to then just go like, see, I was right. It's just that level of mentality of just like, even when you're giving them
young.
like, okay,
it's young
cool.
and dumb. It's not a fucking, it's not a mature way to think. And it takes time to get to a mature place. So like, it's,
if ever, some
the
people
kid's
still
not,
don't have it.
I'm not saying he's, you know, a lost cause by any means. He's a young man.
I don't know if 28 is young, but
young enough, I would say, to still have time to grow. I personally don't feel like I made real growth in my life till I was like 20 or like 31, 2. Mm-hmm. At least 30 for sure. So
yeah,
who am I to say anybody's a lost cause at 28? But it was just it was eye-opening for me to have that conversation, and it made me feel better. I'm like, oh, you know, I went hard, yes, but also it's not like if I went any less hard, it would have been any different.
Which it is on me, because that episode is obviously missing like 10 good minutes of that
That episode's missing a bit. We did talk about it on the Patreon somewhat, but I feel like that episode could have been better, but it's fine. It's done. It's
maybe we could put it on the Patreon as a separate clip on itself.
Yeah, maybe we can have it clipped up, ready to go for a time that I skip a Monday to go ride the boat with my father-in-law.
Or a moment where Max makes you mad enough to where you're just like, nope, that little clip's going back on there. What do you mean?
I don't want to do anything maliciously, but
you got that ace in your back pocket where you're just like, all right, you want to keep going? Bam.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that most of this episode was just talks about the current events, but it does personally help me to process everything by speaking on it and listening to some facts about it. So
you could say it. Asking a Mexican.
Asking a Mexican, yes. Thank you for joining me in that journey. I definitely feel a little bit lighter. I enjoy that. And
how does it know?
We got the episode with Heavy and Jerry coming out on Monday, and then the extended Patreon portion of it coming out after that, which is great. I'm glad that they came through. It's always great with Heavy. I feel like me and him, like Rogan has Protect Our Parks, like a reoccurring thing on the Joe Rogan Experience. I think that on the Party with Strategy podcast, at least once a month, we got to get with Heavy, because he, like we said, I mean, he's like part of my life now. My work is intertwined with him. Absolutely. We are each 1/3 of this new thing that we're trying to do, the disconnect. And my success is his success. His success is my success. And it only makes sense to put that on display for the people. I mean, there would be nothing I love more than if we were to be able to gain some success in this journey and also have it like documented on the pod. I think would be sick, just for my own personal thoughts of when I die and what I leave behind, but also letting someone else watch and hopefully learn something.
The last words: release all the Patreons for free.
Yeah, for real.
You need to see this.
People need to they got to get in tune. But yeah, I mean, if whatever, I don't know. Thanks for watching.
Nice.
Until next time, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting Stratpack's in the building. Let's go, champ. Peace.